Welcome to Dave's Network, where we talk about people, places, and reviews. On today's podcast, we're going to be speaking with Diane Thompson. Diane's husband, Richie, has been just recently diagnosed with ALS. For those of you that don't know what ALS is, it's a progressive nervous system disease that affects the brain and spinal cord, causing a loss of muscle control, also referred to as Lou Gehrig's disease. So today we're going to talk to Diane about Richard's symptoms, diagnosis, and journey with ALS over the last 14 months. So Diane, let's begin with talking about Richie's eating, and we'll move on from there.
He's trying to cut down on how much he eats. He's starting to feel really uncomfortable. I don't know if it's a side effect of the medication or if it's the disease progressing. So they're going to change. He's on a strong ALS drug, but they're going to change that. There's a brand new one just out, so they're going to change into that one now. But he's retaining a lot of fluid. It could be edema too. So tonight he didn't, because I had the rest of my pork meatloaf tonight.
Right.
And I didn't want to do potatoes and stuff, so I made a chicken soup. So I had that on the side. So he ate a little bit of chicken soup, and that was it tonight, because that's it. And even then, he didn't eat very much. So he said he felt better for not eating. I don't know what's going on with him. Like, I have to watch everything he does, and I write down everything, because I don't know if it's the disease moving up or what.
Yeah.
But I mean, he goes to that. He doesn't have to go for 4 months, but so many specialists come in, they check everything, and they're trying to catch it before it starts. Whatever the next phase is, they're trying to catch it before it starts.
So what is the next phase?
Well, it moves up your body. So right now it's just his legs.
His legs, so it would move.
It's just his legs.
It affects the internal organs too, doesn't it?
Yeah, the nerves, basically all the nerves in your body are dying. The next thing usually is, or the worst thing is, his lungs or swallowing. And the downside of going to the Providence Villa, you see all the other, because it's a whole wing, just ALS patients, that's all it is. So you see other people with ALS. You don't see them for long because they usher you into a room and you're by yourself.
Yeah.
But Richie got a shock because in the waiting room there was a young girl in there. I mean, this is bad for a young girl. And she couldn't swallow. Her boyfriend was trying to give her a water bottle.
Right.
And you could see she's having trouble swallowing. Said that they were checking him to make sure. And also the speech. They asked me, does he speak clearly? And I said, not all the time. He doesn't. And then he gets mad, you see. But I said, Richie, you don't always speak clearly. I don't understand you.
It does affect speech, yeah, I know that.
Yeah. It does. And I have to tell them, I can't say he's fine. And so they did a speech test, and they said, yes, I can see, like, they had him say G, keep saying G.
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, you have problems with your speech. So that's frustrating him because he kept asking them. And then even the nurse who came yesterday, she's occupational therapist, he asked her. And she said, I can't tell you. He said, nobody's telling me. She said, because they can't.
Well, Stephen Hawking's had that too, didn't he?
Yes. He's the longest living person.
He lived forever with that. He was diagnosed in university, early in university.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I saw that. Like, they say usually it's 2 to 4 years after you're diagnosed. But it's not across the board.
No.
You know, I said to Richie, you may just plateau out at not being able to walk. Because they said he's amazingly strong in his upper body.
Well, he seems to be, yeah. I know when he latched on to Drew and I, when we helped him into the county on the spot there. Like his upper body was strong.
That's what they said. Yeah. His upper body is really strong and his arms are strong.
Yeah.
And they said his oxygen level in his blood is excellent. It's normal.
So it's can't be in the lungs yet.
No. So that's the guy, the respirologist said, I can't do anything for you because everything is working fine as far as your lungs go. So he said, I don't need to see you again for 3 or 4 months. But he said, I will send you again to an oxygen test, breathing test. So, but he said, you're in good shape.
Yeah, so best worst case scenario would be it plateaus in his legs, like you said.
That's what I said to him. I said, you may just plateau out at this, and because he's not happy about that. I understand that, but I said, you're lucky. And he goes, well, I don't think I'm lucky. Well, I know, but you are in a way. So much worse off.
Well, exactly. It's hard to convince him that things could be a hell of a lot worse. I mean, even like he said when he mentioned when we were out there that maybe he could make it around in his walker, but the danger of that is he could fall.
Yes.
And
yes.
you'd have to get him back up again.
Yeah. Yes.
So, but I mean, he does what I'm thinking. He would have the upper body strength to do that.
Yeah.
To even drag himself, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he can still move his legs, can't he?
No, his left leg he has no control over at all.
No control on his left leg, then just his right leg.
Just his right leg, and it's kind of weak, the right leg, but the left leg he cannot use it at all. So
yeah.
But there's a lot of positives. I mean, I know it's terrible that he's got it. I'm a fatalist. I think, well, now you've got it, you've got it. So let's just deal with it.
Yeah.
Instead of saying I wish I didn't have it.
Yeah.
And the thing is that now we go to the village, the Providence Villa, all the time now. That's amazing, all this help. And then secondly is the ALS Society is supposed to be coming. And right now I'm renting, little bit of equipment we have. So I'm paying $178 a month for rental equipment.
Wow.
Well, apparently when the ALS come in, they're going to give it all to me for free.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
Like, I'm in shock, really. They're giving me all this stuff. The girl who came yesterday filled out the forms, and she said, no, the ALS have everything you want. Because the cushion that he sits on is $600 to buy it.
So he's got that for nothing?
Well, he will. Right now, I'm paying $65 a month just for the cushion. And then I have another cushion that's $20, and then I have the wheelchair, and then we have a toilet seat, and then we have a shower seat. And so we're paying for all of these things.
They'll provide that for nothing, or will they reimburse?
Yes.
Will they reimburse for the time you've had it? Or?
No, that's gone. Okay. But the ALS, when they come in, and they said they'll give me a better wheelchair because they said that's too heavy for me. I said, are you kidding? Like, I've been struggling with
the bionic woman there, yeah.
Well, I had it down to a fine art, but it is a bit heavy, and they said it's £56 because it's metal. But the other ones that are coming are going to be lighter metal or whatever. And
so maybe half the weight, like 20-something pounds, or maybe if you're lucky.
And then going to measure him, and it's going to be narrower.
Mm-hmm. Here's the whole different other topic that people squawk and chew about Canada. But I mean, if you guys were in the States, can you imagine what you'd be paying? You wouldn't get any of that reimbursement. You would be paying for that clinic through the nose.
Yeah. I'm absolutely in shock how much assistance we're getting. I mean, we have the physiotherapist, the occupational therapist. We don't pay for that at all.
No. Wow.
Yeah. And the first month of all this equipment was free. The government paid the first month. And when I bought the walker, they paid 70% of the cost of the walker.
Wow.
And if I decide to buy a wheelchair, they'll pay 70% of the cost.
So let's say, and this would be cheap, $1,000 wheelchair, which you wouldn't get one for that, but $300 for it. So that's pretty good.
It's huge.
Yeah,
I think it's huge.
And this is all done through OHIP or
no community care. My doctor
which is a government branch, right? Right.
Yeah. So they called community care, and then first thing we knew, then we were getting nurses coming from St. Elizabeth, which is a private company. But the government contracts them. So I don't know anything about this, but I told my sister, because she has a Down syndrome girl, so she's been through all this. So I said, well, they're coming from St. Elizabeth. And my sister said, they're the top nurses in the business.
Wow.
So it's a private company.
The top nurses, like they're the top ALS nurses, or?
No, just the top nurses
in general?
Just the top nurses, yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they're supposed to be the best nurses there are. They're all private. They're hired out by the government.
Wow.
So I contact St. Elizabeth. I don't contact the government. I contact St. Elizabeth.
So did they give you any kind of prognosis? I mean, or was it just, let's see what happens?
Let's see what happens. Yeah, there's no prognosis. So that's why I get nervous because I watch him for any little...
Yeah. So
I'm keeping a journal.
Did they give you any indication of what you should be looking for?
No.
Just watch and see.
Yeah, just what the neurologist just keeps saying, any little change at all, call me. So right now I notice that he's not digesting food very well.
Oh, really?
So I wanted to tell the doctors that, and he didn't want me to tell them that. But I said, if we don't tell them stuff, they can't help us. If it means nothing, it means nothing. But at least let them decide.
Yeah, yeah.
Not us. So
yeah, any of the people I know, like I have a couple of friends that are doctors, and they said, just tell every detail, no matter how trivial you think it is. I felt dizzy going to the washroom or something like that. Just that could mean something in the whole. That could make the world of difference in terms of, diagnosing or problem solving or whatever it might be. So.
Oh, it does. Honestly, I'm so glad. I documented this from day one because nobody knew what was wrong with him. They kept telling him that it was nothing. And so I recorded everything. And when we finally got to see this neurologist, Melanson, he was asking me dates. And I could tell him the exact dates of everything. Mm-hmm. And then he asked me when it first started. And I said, 2021. And he said, okay, now everything's starting to make sense.
Wow.
Because Richie said, no, it started last June. And I said, it didn't. Because he argued that it didn't. I got it written down. Yeah. It was February 2021. Melanson said, okay, now things are starting to make sense. Yeah, so anyway, I mean, the thing was with him, when it really started to get serious, like he's addicted to golf. And he was good at it. I'm not just boasting, because I was in Tim Hortons once, and a guy came up and tapped him on the shoulder, and he said, are you Mr. Gauchi? And Richie said, yeah. And he said, can I shake your hand? He said, I've watched you play golf, and he said, you've got the most amazing swing. And I felt like I was with a celebrity. And so he played golf at least 3 times a month, and he played 18 a week, 3 times a week, 18 holes, and he won.
Wow.
And then I took up golf, and so for the last year I'd been playing with him the odd time. Beginning of June, we bought our membership. The first week of June, we bought our couples membership, and Richie and I went out to play golf, and we only did 9 holes because I can't play 18. And the next week, he couldn't.
Wow.
He couldn't stand up long enough to swing.
So that fast within 1 week?
Yeah. And so because we said, well, why don't you take a cart? If you can't walk, take a cart. And he can't swing. Like, he couldn't hold himself up. He's lost his balance. He totally lost his balance. And so he never played golf again. It's crazy.
So what was your initial thought then? It was just a bad spell or the flu or something like that? Or?
Well, they'd been giving him painkillers for a pain in his rib. We thought this was what it was. And we thought maybe the mattress was too soft, and he was complaining of pain in his rib and backache. And so we tried putting a board under the mattress, and we bought a new mattress, and nothing worked. So we went to the doctors, and they did a CT scan, and they did, what's the other one? Not a CT scan. God, when they put the paste on you.
Oh, like an ultrasound.
Ultrasound, thank you.
Yeah.
So they did ultrasound and CAT scans, and they said there was nothing wrong. So he'd been taking Advil, so they gave him morphine. So he took morphine for 2 weeks, and it almost knocked him out. And that was when he got really weak in his legs, and we blamed the morphine. Like, it was making him that he couldn't walk.
So the pain was that bad? Because that's quite a jump from Advil to morphine.
I know. No, I think it was over-medicated, personally. Yeah, really? I don't think it needed morphine. But in the end, he did it for 2 weeks, and he said, I'm not taking it anymore because it knocks me out.
Yeah.
And I can see him now. He was crawling up the stairs on all fours because he couldn't climb the stairs. And so we blamed the morphine.
Yeah.
And so he was really doddery on his legs. So then he got a walking stick. So when we moved in here in September, he had a walking stick.
So how long did it take before the initial onset? Like that day golfing to when you moved in here, how long was that?
Well, that was June. In September we moved in here, so that's 3 months.
So 3 months? That's how
fast 3 months.
It progressed?
Yeah, so then he had a walking stick, and then the walking stick didn't work. And by beginning of January, we bought a walker. He couldn't use the walking stick. And by April, he's in the wheelchair.
Wow.
And now he can't stand up now. So physiotherapist, in fact, I reminded him tonight, I still make him come to the table to eat. We're trying to keep things as normal as we can, right?
Yeah.
So I won't give him a tray in front of the TV yet. So he eats at the counter. But she's told him when you get to the counter, you have to stand up for like 60 seconds if you can do it for 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Just stand up because he's bent over. And she doesn't want him to bend over, but he's leaning on the counter, you see, so she's trying to get him to stand up straight. So tonight, he hadn't done it for a while. Tonight I said, stand up straight. And he said, I am. I said, no, because if you look in the mirror, he bent right over. And so for him to stand up straight is really getting difficult now. That's because your muscles are all shrinking, right? You're not doing anything, just sitting in that chair. And then he got bed sores from sitting so long. So that's why he has to have this Roho cushion, they call it, which is $600.
Yeah. Wow. So this whole progression has been, what, 13 months? 14 months, something like that?
Yeah.
From golfing to...
Yeah, and I can't tell you how many MRIs, CT scans, and ultrasounds he's had, and x-rays. And all were saying there was nothing wrong. Then they said it was prostrate. And they wanted him to go back to see the surgeon about his prostrate. Then they said because he had a gallbladder operation, they thought it was infection from the gallbladder operation. And so they called the surgeon and told him either he left something in or it was infected. And so the surgeon actually called us.
You mean they left something in from the surgery?
Yeah.
Like a sponge or something?
Yeah. That's what I thought maybe. Yeah. So they wanted the surgeon to take over. So when the surgeon called us at home, I can tell you what he said word for word. Was, Richie, I remember your surgery. It was very difficult. But he said, as you grow older, everyone has pain, and you just have to learn to live with it. And that was it. You never saw him.
So what triggered this? It's ALS. What was it? An MRI? Was it just the right doctor?
We were really lucky because finally our doctor referred us to a neurologist, and he was a young graduate, really nice. I liked him, and he was really interested in Richie. And so we had an appointment to go back because he saw Richie, and he didn't make any decision, but he said to go back in 3 months, and he would check him out again. But in the meantime, we got a call from another neurologist because we'd gone to a walk-in clinic. We were trying everything, and the walk-in clinic had called a neurologist. So then another neurologist called and said, do you still need a neurologist? And we said yes. So we had one, but we'll take all we can get right now. We need an answer. So we saw this neurologist down at Kingston General, and it was a young woman. And we were in her office almost 2 hours. And the minute she saw Richie and checked him over, she made some notes. And she said, I'm horrified. I'm totally disgusted that you guys have been suffering with this for so long. And she said, I'm double checking him to make sure my notes are right. But she said, I have to do 3 things right now. And one is I have to get him admitted. Secondly, I have to get the last MRI that was done. And lastly, I have to call this neurologist in Kingston. He's the top neurologist in Kingston. He has a 12-month waiting list. And she said, I'm going to call him. And she called him right while we were in the office. And she said, he happens to be in the hospital today. She called him and she said, you have to see this man within the next 2 weeks. And he said, I can't see him, but I'll try 4 weeks. And we actually did see him in 2 weeks. And he was super, super nice. And he did all these electrical tests on his muscles. In fact, he was so filled with fluid, he was sticking pins in his legs and water was running out of all of these holes. I mean, it's not funny, but I'm like, oh my God, that's because he has diabetes. complicating the things.
So that's not a symptom of ALS, that's a symptom of
No,
diabetes.
that was a separate problem.
I see.
So he was full of, and the other thing was his legs were all scabbed and had sores.
Yeah.
And so after Melanson had finished pricking his legs, he told us to go straight down to emergency and have them bandage his legs. And of course, then they sent the results to our doctor, and that set off a whole new team of nurses for the leg, and then ALS. Melanson did diagnose ALS, but he didn't tell us right away.
Yeah.
We didn't know right away, but on a conversation with our doctor's assistant regarding the diabetes, he said, I'm just reading the notes, and he was reading the notes out loud, and I heard him say ALS, and I said, just a minute, did you just say ALS? And he said, oh no, I'm sort of talking to myself. He said, I can't disclose this, you have to talk to your doctor. And of course, when we go to see Melanson, he said, yeah, it's LNS, ALS, and I think you're halfway through the spectrum.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a godsend, really, that we got to see this neurologist, because now we're getting action. We know what it is now, and we can deal with it now. And really, we're getting a lot of help. I'm so grateful for the help.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It is. I mean, I can't complain about the health. I know the health system's in a really bad way. I get it.
Yeah, yeah.
But we have been very fortunate, because I can't complain at all.
So were there any contributing factors? Like, was his age a factor? Or was it just that's the way ALS works?
No, in fact, we were told he's an odd case, because the age limit is usually, the onset age is usually 40 to 70.
I was going to say, yeah.
And so Richie is 87, which, I tend to see the glass half full, not half empty.
Yeah.
And, I said to him, you could be like that young girl in the waiting room who's 22. At least you're 87 and you've had a really good life.
Can you see that picture, Diane? Oh, okay. That's a picture of you and Richie. I'm just looking at his picture.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. He doesn't look 87 by any means.
And he doesn't act it.
No.
Always being strong. He's always strong. A hunter and a golf player. He was also a curler. Yeah.
And that takes a lot of agility to curl. I mean, you just...
I don't like to boast, but honestly, I think he's one of a kind, because even at the curling club, other people told me, he was an inspiration, because at 87... he could still slide.
Yeah, I was going to mean, I don't know a lot about curling, but you've got to get down there and, bend on your knees and sweep and do all that jazz. So
yeah, he was skip. He was a good skip, and he could slide really good. I mean, I envy the sliders. I'm a stick curler, but my God, the sliders. And he was a slider.
Yeah. So, yeah. When it's all said and done, it's got to be hard for him to 13 months ago, 14 months ago, all of a sudden he's curling and golfing, and now he's, where he is now. So
I get it. I mean, it's really like day in, day out, sitting in the wheelchair. But, give him credit. He bought a mandolin. He's trying to learn to play the mandolin. Mm-hmm. He's trying to write the music into a book so he picks the song and then he tries to play the mandolin. So he's trying to write the music and this. I mean, he's in there for ages with his glasses on, writing and practicing the mandolin. And I think that's great.
Well, maybe we should try and channel his energy in a different direction and get a video of him doing some mandolin or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
it has to be hard. I mean, I would feel the same way. You're out and about and doing all this stuff, and then bam.
And the other thing that the doctor told me about was you'll notice a lot of mood swings, and that comes with ALS too. And I do find that. I mean, I find lately he's kind of crabby.
Yeah.
But I think I would be kind of crabby too if every day I get up and all I've got is the wheelchair, watch TV, and I mean he watches the news. Or I actually found a new movie channel because he likes westerns. So he's been watching a western, so he's really enjoying that. It's not ideal.
What kind of westerns? Is he like the old John Wayne westerns?
Oh, it's the old ones, and
Clint Eastwood, spaghetti westerns and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, I subscribe to Paramount Plus, and so there's a real old time western on there, and it's a series.
Oh yeah, it's it must be hard for you too. The whole.
Well, I think I get a bit fed up sometimes, and basically I'm okay because I'm in the bedroom doing my thing. I got lots of hobbies.
Yeah.
Too many probably, but but today was a lovely day, and I felt like going for a walk. I mean, honestly I can't remember what it was like to have Richie walking by my side anymore. I just can't remember what it was like.
Really?
Yeah, it seems weird. I think I wish I could have a movie or see something of him. Anyway, I wanted to go for a walk, and I set out to go to the park, and my car took control and took me to the mall.
The possessed car.
Yeah, it was an involuntary reaction. Yeah. So I walked around the mall and bought myself a pair of boots.
Oh, good.
Told myself, that's okay, you can have a treat.
Yeah, it's I don't, like I said, we talked about before that you mentioned a picture of you two walking together. That's where those videos become so important,
Oh, yeah.
Where you could just reflect back,
Oh, yeah.
2, 3, 4 months or years from now.
It is.
On that. Yeah.
It's just strange. Like, I thought the other day, I can't remember what it was like because he's so tall and I'm so short.
Yeah.
And I just don't remember what it was like to be walking with him.
Just memories of, the days when. And it's interesting. I mentioned I'm going to my cousin's, and we're going to do a podcast there at the cottage.
Right?
Like growing up at the cottage and things we did as kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And she's got some old 8mm reels.
Oh God, yes.
And she's going to give them to me, and I thought that would be so cool to sit there and flip through those, make them digital. But just even to watch them of the. The family back in the 60s and 70s and stuff like that. So when she gives me the screen and the projector and stuff like that, we'll have to have you and Richie up and do a
I'd love that
old-fashioned movie night.
Oh, I'd love that. I mean, we did the same actually. We've got reels and reels of old time. We've had them put onto disc, right? We had the projector and everything, but now they're all on disc. But I could sit and watch them for hours. But it's life. I think it's interesting to see how your life, I don't care how you plan it, life happens while you're making other plans.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's so interesting, I think, to see where life takes you.
Yeah, yeah. Like you said, the whole ALS thing, you wouldn't have imagined it, but you'll have to see where it takes both of you, I guess.
Well, yeah, and I often, I look at Richie and I think, why? It's not fair. Like, why? But then, there are other people, a lot younger, that I hear about.
Yeah.
Terrible things happen.
Yeah.
Like, isn't there a book, Why Bad Things Happen to Good People?
Yeah, I think so. I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah. But it is what it is, so you can't, no good stamping your feet saying, I'm not going down that road.
No, that's true. Well, anyway, I'll kind of let you go here, Diane. For those of you listening, that was Diane Thompson talking about her journey. And we'll be back for more in the podcast. See y'all, and good night.